Hi everybody, Michelle here. I wanted to do a video for you today to talk about a medical condition that I have and that a lot of women have. Um, First, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching my um, content. I know it's kind of boring, but this is a way for me to document my weight loss journey times two, and also to see if I can put something out there that might help uh, someone else, um, on their journey with polycystic ovarian syndrome. I have made some notes, so if I'm looking down or away, then that's what I'm doing is trying to refer to my notes because I have ADD and I'm like, oh dear, you know. So anyway, it's so quiet in the house right now. Everybody's at school and at work, and yeah, I'm about to go run errands. So anyway, wanted to do this for you guys real quick. Okay, so I'm sorry for the glare from my glasses. Yeah, it's bad. Okay. Um, so anyway, PCOS is what it's called for short. Um, okay, I am not a doctor or a nurse. None of what I'm going to say is giving any medical advice other than to communicate with your doctor if you have any of the signs that would be on WebMD or things like that. Do your due diligence, do your research, and communicate with your doctor, with your gynecologist, because this syndrome has affected a huge part of my life. Huge. And so, yeah. Uh, okay, so here we go. So, this is going to have some personal information. So, if it's TMI, then click off now. Good Lord, look at all those gray hairs. It's called Three Teenagers. Anyway, okay, so I started my menses when I was 14. I had really horrible, painful cycles, lots of cramping, and it was intense. And I was not regular at all when it came to my cycles. So I would go for a month, 2 months without having my menses. And then there was one point that I was on my menses for 3 solid months. And we used to go to my grandparents' house every Sunday for a Sunday dinner. And there was a particular Sunday that I was not feeling well at all. This was at the almost 3 month mark. And my grandmother asked me what was wrong. She could just tell. She said I was pale um, and that I was almost lethargic. And, excuse me, allergies. So I told her what was wrong, and she asked me if my mother knew. And I was like, obviously she knows because she's got to buy my pads. And so my grandmother chewed my mom out and told her to get me to the gynecologist right away. Something is not right. So we ended up going, and the doctor decided to regulate my cycles. He would put me on a low dose of birth control pills. And so when I was 14, I was started on the birth control. It it helped regulate my periods, but I was still very anemic from being on my cycle for so long. So I had to take iron supplements for quite a while to get that all caught back up. Um, so let's see. Uh, Gosh, this is kind of hard to talk about. Um, my husband and I got married when I was 19. And my husband and I uh, lost our first child um, very soon after we were married. Um, I had been taking the birth control, and my period started messing up again, and had been for, about a year prior to me getting married. And but I continued to take the pills and whatever. And I wasn't starting my period for some reason. So I had to go into the doctor, and they gave me a shot of, I think it was called progesterone. That was a long time ago, so many moons. So yeah, I think that's what they gave me. It was like a shot in the hip, and to get me to start my period. Well, you know, a week went by, 10 days went by, 11 days went by, and I finally was like, after the third time I had called the nurse and said, something is not right. I still haven't started. And then I started having just doubled over in pain. I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk, I couldn't, even being in a fetal position hurt. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I was laying in the bed and just sobbing because it hurt. So my husband scooped me up, took me to the emergency room, and we found out that I was pregnant. They said the good news is that you're pregnant, but the bad news is your uterus is not showing signs of bruising, which I guess happens when you get pregnant. So we think that it might be in your tube. And a few days later, we found out for sure after I had gone to the GYN, and they did an intervaginal sonogram, and did find that it was an ectopic pregnancy. I was about, I think they said 5 to 5.5 weeks pregnant by the time I had gotten the sonogram. And within 48 hours, they had me on the table in surgery, and warned my family, my husband, and my parents that I could bleed out. Obviously, death is, a thing that you have to, possibly deal with any surgery. And so I ended up, they did try to do the surgery and remove the pregnancy without hurting my tube, but it ended up that I was bleeding out a lot. And so they had to just take the tube, and so I lost my baby and lost my tube all in the same day. And it was very, very rough. But we knew that we wanted to be parents. We were so excited when we found out, we had talked about children, but, I didn't think it was going to come so quickly, and that mothering instinct stuck around, and I really wanted a baby, and my husband did too. So we tried and tried, and finally the doctors did another intravaginal sonogram and found that I had, they did the diagnosis of the polycystic ovarian syndrome. And basically, your ovaries are larger than a normal size ovary is about the size of a walnut. And at one point, mine were the size of a baking potato and a large orange. And they said if you can envision, that orange and somebody gluing peas all over it, That's how many you have, hundreds of follicles on each of your ovaries, but you're not ovulating. So they weren't growing big enough to be able to push an egg out to get pregnant. Plus, I only have or had one tube to be able to get pregnant from one side. So my cat is right here again. She's so hilarious. She's trying to get my hair rubber band. These are her toys. So okay, so anyway, they found the PCOS, and we decided to start seeing a fertility specialist. And we went through, it took us about, almost 4 years before we finally were able to get pregnant and keep, I was able to stay pregnant with with our eldest daughter. And she was conceived naturally, other than the Fertinex that I had to take. They were injections that I had to give myself. Good grief, cat. I wish I could show you what she looks like without you seeing my messy house. Hold on. Nope, not gonna work. Maybe this will work. And that is my baby girl. She's my kitten. Isn't she adorable? Oh, I don't know if you can see her. She loves keeping me company. Oh, and there goes the quilt. Okay. Sorry, I'm shaking you guys around everywhere. So I had to do the Fertinex shots, to take the Fertinex shots for, I think it was around 7 days. And then I'd have to go back into the doctor's office and get a shot of HCG shot in my butt, which makes you ovulate. We didn't have to do in vitro. It was just, normal intercourse conception. And so we had my daughter, and at about a year old is when we decided that, well, it had taken us so long to get pregnant with our oldest daughter, maybe we should start trying again. And I started taking the shots, I think, in February of 2000, and by March I was pregnant. And I was considered a high-risk pregnancy. So my girls, even with only having the one tube and whatnot, I did have the multiple pregnancy and gave birth to twins. When kitten, really, Mommy's trying to film here. Goodness gracious, she's just like an attention hound, man. I told you guys, she thinks she's a dog. Anyway, squirrel. So when my twins were not quite 2 years old, I was still having problems with my period after I had stopped nursing. And I nursed them for about 8.5 months. Here she is again. Goodness gracious. Oh. So, golly, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, I was nursing them for about 8.5 months, and I had to quit because I got a really bad kidney infection. And after that, my periods just were wonky again. So my regular gynecologist and my husband and myself decided that we didn't want to have any more kids. So I opted for the hysterectomy. And I was only 27. I was pretty young, but, and I'm not saying this to get sympathy, it's just a fact of my life that if all my children were alive here on earth, I would have 10 kids. And so my 3 daughters are, they're miracles. And we are extremely blessed to have them. And I knew that emotionally, physically, with the drugs and stuff that I would have to use to get pregnant again, my body said, nope, you're done. So they did a hysterectomy, but they left the broken parts there. So I still have my ovaries, and so I still take birth control, but not for birth control purposes. It's to keep the size of my ovaries in check. So some of the worst symptoms for me, I when I got married, I was only 124 pounds. When I had my twins, I was in the 160s. I did not grow up being a big girl. I was tiny. And so right now, I'm at probably the second highest weight I've ever been at. And one of the side effects of the PCOS is weight gain. And it has messed with my weight. It has messed with migraines. It has messed with, or intensified, I should say, facial hair. Here she comes again. Facial hair. Like, I feel like I should invest in a waxing company. You know, mustache. Yep. You know, the elderly lady that you see at the store that you just wonder why she has all these, wiry hairs everywhere. Don't make fun of her. Don't. Because you never know that it could be a medical condition that she has that's causing that. And then maybe she just doesn't give a crap that she's got hair on her face. Because after so long, I'm sure I'm probably going to get tired of plucking it and waxing it. Who knows? But, Halloween nails. Yeah, don't make fun of her. Have a little bit of empathy for her. That, maybe she's lived her whole life with this horrible syndrome. And it's just taken its toll on her emotionally and physically. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else that might be helpful. Those are just the couple of main things. It does affect my mood occasionally. It just depends. I have months where I can tell that my ovaries are larger. There she is. Little turkey butt. Get in. She doesn't want to talk to you guys, apparently. Snob. Anyway. Yeah, this is just something I've lived with for good. I'm 42, so and it started when I was young, and it's not fun. If you're a man and you're watching this, and your wife or your girlfriend or your mom or your sister suffers from from polycystic ovarian syndrome, have a little patience. Have patience with them. Have empathy and not feel sorry for them, but just try to realize that their hormones are all over the place, and it's nothing that they can do about it except for, whatever their gynecologist has recommended to keep this in check. If you guys have any, questions, you can always leave comments below, or you can personally message me. Like I said a couple of times, I'm not a doctor, not a nurse. I've just had this for 2/3 of my life, and it has put me in some real pickle of situations, and has affected my childbearing abilities, and but those things can be overcome with hope and prayer, and doing what your doctors suggest. And if you feel like you're not getting anywhere with that doctor, you know what? Go for a second opinion. Always can go for a second opinion. So I just want to leave you guys with a God bless you. Take care of yourselves, and you will see me again very soon. If you like me or my videos or my content, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or positive comments, please leave those down below, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Take care. Bye.